I saw you pass the most difficult test, my kid. You were unaware that it was a test. It was so sacred because of this. You had days that seemed to go on forever. On nights when you were under so much pressure, you could hardly raise your head. There were times when there was so much stillness that you wondered whether I had just stopped paying attention. Nevertheless, you continued. You did not need to. You had the option to turn away from me, close your heart, and believe that faith had failed you, but you chose not to, and I observed. Every second of that decision, I saw the price of staying. I want you to grasp something very clearly. The quiet you experienced was not a sign of desertion. It was not a penalty. It was not evidence that I had forgotten your name. It was evidence of my faith in you. A refiner does not stand across the room when he adds gold to the fire. He leans in and keeps a tight eye, waiting for the precise time when the contaminants surface. I was doing just that. In the inferno, I was not far from you. I was there, observing, caring for, and ensuring that the flame completed its flawless job without devouring any aspect of your true self. You believed me to be quiet. I did not keep quiet. Behind every closed door and unanswered plea, heaven was at work. You had to make a decision every morning when you woke up. Faith once more. You could not see what I was organizing. You could not have predicted the level of accuracy with which I was positioning individuals and moments. And because of you, it was all for you. Because your name is just as important in heaven now as it has always been. There were times when you almost gave up. They are all people I know. I am aware of the very moment you woke up and muttered, "Maybe this is not intended for me." I have experienced mornings when hope seemed to belong to someone else, someone with a simpler narrative, someone whose prayers appeared to be more effective. You stayed still as others moved forward. Doors opened for them, and prayers were answered for them. You asked me why during that silence. If you believe what I am saying to you now, say amen. I heard all the reasons. I did not always respond with justifications, because a tired heart does not always require justifications. Sometimes all a tired heart needs is to know that I am still here, that I still know your name, and that I have not moved on and abandoned you. Even if your ears were unable to hear it, I communicated into your soul in a whisper. Hold on. I held on to that threat of hope from failing to make ends meet on the nights you were certain it was gone. My child, that was me. That was my hand, solid and silent, keeping you together. Moment you were certain that you were crumbling. You were not crumbling. They were creating you. From the inside of the process, there is a change that is difficult to see. However, I have seen this difference in you from the start. I was aware of the form of the religion that would develop inside you. I was familiar with the type of strength that only results from pressure. I also knew that you were capable of carrying it. Your heart was willing, not because your shoulders were the widest. I have always sought willingness, not performance, not perfection, and not the capacity to do everything perfectly. Just a heart that says, I am here, Lord, even if I do not understand. Give me that. You gave me that repeatedly. You selected one extra day of faith each morning when you woke up. You said, I do not, when you closed your eyes each night. Know what is ahead, but you do. With each prayer you spoke, every single one of them reached me, even the damaged ones, and the ones that sounded more like groans than words. Not. Scattered on the wind was one of them. They stood before my throne, and each and every one of them received an answer. Answered, or is about to be answered in a way that will astound you. Heaven was keeping an eye on every step, my darling. Throughout that arduous season, the angels who are now carrying your breakthrough observed you. They saw you choose to be kind when it would have been simpler to be bitter. They saw you provide forgiveness to those who had never sought for it. They observed you continuing to love even though it was more expensive for you than it was worth. And at those times, heaven was not silent. Every time you got back up, there was happiness in my courts. Each time you cleaned your face and continued. Each time picked me above pride, comfort, and the simpler path that veered off course. The world witnessed your hardship. Heaven witnessed your devotion. I want you to remember the distinction between those two things. Heaven referred to what the earth labeled losing as progress. Heaven referred to what the world regarded quiet as preparation. You were not lagging behind. It was transforming you into something you had never been. A different version of yourself. Molded by trust, honed by fire and prepared for the season that is about to arrive at your door. You were successful, my kid. The exam is over. The fire has completed its task. After all that fire, what is left is something. And all of you are standing there. You are now closer than ever to fulfilling my pledge. I want you to hear these words as confirmation, as well as consolation. It is not by accident that you are receiving this message right now. Long before now, it was in action. The actual heaven. Arranged this meeting, and all I had prepared has been building up to the hour you are about to enter. You did not just happen to come here. My soul drew you here because you own what occurs next. The waiting is over. Your dedication will pay off in the future. And I am the God who consistently fulfills his promises. The quiet was genuine, and I know it hurt, so I want to talk to you about it. I also do not want you to carry no longer a wound from it. There were times when you screamed out to me but got no response. No solace descended upon you. There was no clarification. The door did not open. Just a big, weighty calm, with you standing in the center of it, wondering whether you had done anything wrong. I wondered whether I was disappointed in you, if you had somehow eluded me. You must hear what I have to say, this clearly. I could always reach you, not for a single breath, not for a single pulse. Whether you can feel it has no bearing on my reach. There was no sign of my absence in the quiet. It was proof of my confidence. The classroom falls silent when a teacher administers an exam. The instructor does not sit next to the pupil and mumble responses, since the purpose of the test is to find out what the student already possesses. I did not retreat by being silent. It was an assurance. Since I already knew what was inside of you, I remained silent. It was there that I had put it. All I was doing was watching it emerge, and it did manifest in ways that to this day still touch me. On mornings when trust seemed silly, you made the decision to trust me. On the evenings when praying seemed like yelling into an empty room, you made the decision to pray. Even when your faith was on the verge of breaking, you managed to hold on to it. My kid, that thread never broke. Never once. And it was not your hold that held it together. I owned it. Talk. If these words are touching your spirit, I think. I am aware that at this moment, all you saw in the desert you traversed was loss. You witnessed the removal of things you cherished. People you cared about are no longer with you. Your plans fell apart. Your long-delayed dreams started to vanish. It appeared to be decreasing. It seemed as though something was taken away from you. However, I was not taking. I was clearing space. Those two things are not the same, and I want you to fully comprehend it. A gardener who cherishes his vine does not allow it to develop in whatever way it pleases. He gently and purposefully prunes it out of concern rather than malice. He gets rid of what is eating the strength of a vine without producing fruit. To make room for what is left, he clears away the tangled and misdirected, deeper, stretch higher, and yield more than the unpruned vine ever could. During your wilderness season, I was doing just that. Every individual I permitted to go from your life, every scheme I permitted to disintegrate, every consolation I took away, was trimming rather than punishment. Trimming. I did not intend for some of the folks I let go of to accompany you on your whole journey. They had a one-season appointment. Additionally, I ended the chapter when that season came to an end. Not because they were your adversaries, but because you need a different sort of company where I am going you. Some of the unsuccessful strategies would have put you in a situation where I was urging you to get out. A few of the closed opportunities seemed similar, like rejection, yet in reality they served as a diversion. I was not trying to limit your life. In the woods, I was paving the way. Additionally, I was doing something that was not possible in large quantities. I was instructing you to listen to my voice. The voice that thunders over miracles and responds is not the loud one, prayers, but the whisper, the silent voice, the tiny sound that is more powerful than any storm. If I had continued to surround your life with noise, you would not have learned to hear it. Additionally, the removal was a tweaking. I was adjusting your spirit to my frequency. Additionally, you can now hear me in ways that were before unattainable. The wildness you endured was a classroom, my dear. Every valley you traversed had a lesson to teach you. When you could see nothing, you learned to walk on trust. You discovered how to love without expecting anything in return. It was not because the wound stopped hurting that you learned to forgive. Rather, it was because you opted for release over resentment. You discovered that pleasant conditions do not lead to tranquility. It originates with me, and no affluence can impart that profound and enduring lesson. It can only be discovered in solitude, where I am the only thing left. It was all worthwhile. Not a single day, not a single cry, not a single restless night, not a single prayer that seemed like it. The ceiling and descend once more. Every syllable was reaching me. I was documenting each act of faith. I was taking note of every. When it would have been so much simpler to choose something else, you chose me. Your tale does not stop during the wilderness season. Since you demonstrated who you are in this chapter, it is among the most crucial, composed of, and heaven much respects what you are made of. The time for stripping is finished. Already fresh growth is emerging from the pruning. You are leaving the wilderness and entering the designated area. You have left the classroom and are carrying with you all that you have learnt. You are not leaving empty-handed. You are heading. Ahead with a faith that has been put to the test and maintained, full of a strength that was not borrowed but forged, full with a serenity that is able to endure even while everything around it trembles. My kid, you have my admiration. The way a father looks at his kid who has reached the opposite side of the difficult road. Still standing, still having faith, still being me. When I look at you now, that is what I see. Someone who survived the fire without losing what was most important. You still have faith. Your affection is vibrant. You have an open heart. Additionally, since, as a result, everything that is now being delivered to you has a destination, I observed. The times when being obedient cost you everything, not the simple compliance. When the route is pleasant and the path is clear, anyone can follow me. I am talking about the other type. Tears accompanied the compliance. The submission that necessitated letting go of something valuable, leaving a familiar place, and putting your confidence in me. With your hands outstretched when your gut told you to hang on. That is the type of obedience that moves heaven, and it is uncommon. I have urged you to let go of the things you cherish most, even when you did not understand why. You obeyed. You said, "Lord, I do not see what you are doing, but I, after releasing it with shaking hands and a broken heart, trust you." Giving up was not a sign of weakness. It was combat. It trembled. The invisible world as obedience originates from sincere love rather than duty or fear. Decision to put your confidence in me beyond anything else. The weight of such obedience is eternal. I witnessed you forgiving those who had badly hurt you, those who never expressed regret, and those who would never comprehend what. They stole from you. Nevertheless, you decided to let them go. It was simple, therefore you did not do it. You chose me above resentment, which is why you did it. My kid, that forgiveness was sacred. The adversary desired for that wound to worsen. He desired for the transgression to become ingrained in your heart and develop into something that would contaminate your future. However, you turned him down. You released go and opened your hand, and at that same instant, chains that were invisible to you dropped off your destiny. I am asking you, my child, to put part of what you have, something substantial, on the altar of this labor, just as gold is placed on the scales of this calling. Let it be an offering placed on a stone, a seed sown into deep water, and not suppressed by fear. This demonstrates that your heart no longer clings to need and that you trust me to supply. What you let go of in your religion stays in your life. It enters the harvest I am preparing before you do. I noticed you. Leave debates that you could have won. I witnessed you remain mute when you had the opportunity to openly and vocally defend yourself. I witnessed you choose the modest route when, at the time, the proud route would have felt so much better. Heaven saw all of your decisions, even if the world did not commend you for them. You resembled me each time you made the decision to put peace above pride. Every time you choose to show blessings instead of taking revenge. You brought a piece of my personality to a planet in dire need. You help those who have never shown gratitude to you. Even at times when you were in need, you provided to those in need. You offered prayers to those who had wronged you, and your prayer was not pretentious. It was sincere. You did not do these things to win my affection. You did them because my love was already flowing through you. You may never completely realize the impact you have had on life. When my spirit is alive, it seems like that. In a person. Love that chooses to act even when it has every right to rest, not perfection or the lack of hardship. All of your intimate acts of obedience have been documented, my darling. Not one of them has gone unnoticed. You believed such moments to be little, imperceptible, and unimportant in the greater narrative. However, the reality is that the architecture of what is currently being constructed outdoors was created during those concealed times. What was obedient in private will soon be recognized in public. What was secretly given up is going to come back stronger. Now, the seeds you planted in silent trust are beginning to sprout. Additionally, the crop they bring is bigger than what you sowed. I am aware that even though you obeyed me at times, it still hurt. You lost something valuable even if you followed my instructions. I heard you say, "Lord, I did what you requested, and it still went wrong." Weep. In it, I sat with you. I did not brush it off with hasty responses. And now I wish to share with you what was going on at that time. I am testing your submission rather than your abilities when I let compliance feel expensive. Will you believe me even if you cannot find me? Will you follow even if it does not make sense? And you consistently said yes. You have developed something unbreakable because of it, yes. Yes, it has demonstrated that your religion is independent of favorable results. It stems from my identity. Heaven respects such kind of obedience. The obedience of a kid who fully trusts their parent, not the obedience of a servant carrying out a duty. That is what you have given me, my dear. I may now securely unleash what I have been preparing into your life after demonstrating the depth of your faith. The promise is no longer postponed. The blessing is on its way because of your obedience. Your life is about to reveal what your commitment bought in the invisible world. Remain steady. Maintain an open heart. The prize is now closer than it has ever been. Heaven assessed your faithfulness based on how much you accomplished, rather than how. You gave yourself over completely. Additionally, the record is unambiguous. In the most expensive areas you gave up, you had faith in. During the least logical seasons, when love demanded sacrifice, you were in love. You are now receiving the measure of that loyalty back. Running over, shaken together, pressed down. The idea has always been accurate. What you give me does not vanish, it multiplies. And now is the moment for the doubled return. You felt the breaking, therefore I need to talk to you about it. And it was genuine, and I have never once claimed to be different. There were times in your life when it seemed like everything was falling apart all at once. The foundation upon which you had constructed your ideas collapsed. When you most needed someone, they were not there. Before your very eyes, the future you had envisioned fell apart, leaving you standing in the rubble of what you altered the course of your life. You asked me the most difficult question a heart can ask during such moments. Why did you allow this to occur? I want to respond to it right now. Nor with distance, nor with theology, but with the reality of what I witnessed when I permitted the items to shatter. I let certain things break because they were constructed on unstable ground. The burden of what I have given you to bear. I was not ruining your future. I was cleaning up the area. When laying a permanent foundation, a builder does not avoid the old, unstable buildings. He takes them off. More than everything before him, he delves deeper. The sound of that excavation was the cracking you felt. You had no idea how deep I was, building a foundation in your life that will support future events without crumbling beneath their weight. If your heart is ready to receive what heaven is releasing today, say yes, Lord. You did not ruin my kid. You cracked open. There is a distinction. What breaks just does not work. What causes open releases to fail. When a seed's shell is still intact, it cannot grow. The shell must fracture, yield, and give way before what is able to push upward in the direction of the light. That is what occurred throughout your most trying times. The things outside of you gave way to what I had put inside of you. The true you. The devoted, loving, purpose-driven you could at last emerge into the public eye. I witnessed you at those times of total collapse. I watched you drop to your knees. You whispered to me, "God, I cannot handle it." And something changed at that very moment of complete surrender. Giving up is not the same as losing. The position that accepts what force cannot withstand is surrender. The instant you ceased, my hands got completely under you as I tried to keep what I had already let fall together. You did not disintegrate into nothing. You collapsed into me. And the metamorphosis started with the fall. There is no harm shown by the fissures that the shattering left in you. My light now shines through these gaps. A ship that has never is frequently too tight to allow anything to enter or exit. Your brokenness turned into porosity, the characteristic of a heart that is sufficiently open to freely pour out and receive. I am utilizing what you believe to be harm as a design. My grace now flows most freely in the same places where you were cracked. I also wish to inform. No easy season could have created what the breaking did for you. Compassion resulted from it. True empathy. The type that is practical rather than theoretical. You now understand what it feels like to languish in agony with no obvious solution. You understand what it means to hope when it is challenging. When everything inside of you wants to let go, you know what it feels like to cling on. Because you are intimately familiar with these things. Now that you are there, you can sit with people and give them something that no amount of learning may provide. You can provide them with the presence of a sympathetic person. That is among the best gifts a person can possess. It ended up in your hands due to the breakage. My dear one, you were not the target of the fire you encountered. I gave in because I had a future for. You needed gold, and heat is the only way to create gold. I was aware of your innermost thoughts before you were. Long before your trust was put to the test, I could see how strong it was. Your faith did not develop as a result of trial. It made it visible to you, to the invisible world, and to the observer's world. There was always trust. All the fire did was bring it to the surface so that everyone could see what I already knew. My beginning was what appeared to be your end. What appeared to be defeat was actually preparation. Construction was what appeared to be anarchy. I was incorporating the chaos, uncertainty, and cacophony of those challenging times. I was creating something in you that needed those particular circumstances. I am thorough, not because I am unkind. I do not work on incomplete projects. I do not construct halfway. And here is what I have been cultivating in you during each difficult season, sufficient to stand in the way of what is to come. The person who entered the flames is no longer you. You are more powerful. You are more intelligent. You are simultaneously more robust and more sensitive. You are prepared. I also want you to be aware of this. Throughout those seasons, I never lost a single piece of you. Not a single piece of your identity vanished. There were times when you felt disoriented, as if your former self had been irreparably damaged. However, I was collecting every fragment. I handled them with the same care as you would an invaluable item. And I was not only assembling and retaining, I was repairing, silently, piece by piece, and with amazing. Take care. I was reassembling you, not as you were before, but as you were destined to be. You are not a diminished version of yourself when this season comes to an end. It is the most authentic rendition, the one I created prior to the start of your life. Now let that understanding to sink deeply into your being. There is nothing wrong with you. They have recreated you. Furthermore, the person who recreated you is error-free. I want to talk to you now about the future, not as a far-off dream, but as a current reality that is already in motion. Throughout your life, you have said prayers that you finally stopped uttering aloud, not because you gave up, trusting them completely, but because there was so much time between the prayer and the response that it started to pain to say it again. When it is too delicate to be revealed, you gently carried it inside where hope resides. I am familiar with the location. Even when you could not hear me, I continued to talk into it. And this is what I have been saying. I have not forgotten. The pledge is still in effect, and now is the time for its fulfillment. Over your life, something has changed in the sky. The time of year you have been in is shifting. What was still is starting to move. The sealed item is starting to open. What was withheld is now being made public. The God who rules the seasons is me. I am also in charge. Turn this one. The lengthy winter that put your stamina to the test is ending. Beneath the surface, the earth that appeared barren and frozen is thawing. Life is coming back. Even though you cannot see it with your own eyes quite yet, it is starting to move. Your breakthrough is not just a far-off dream. It is not far. Even now, it is moving in your direction. I am sending it through the hearts and hands of those I have previously positioned. Someone is thinking of you right now as you hear these words. It is prompting someone to get in touch, to say your name in a room where it is required, or to unlock a door. I am the one moving them. even if they might not completely get why the idea of you has come so forcefully. I set this up in order to provide the answer to your request. I have been working through people, events, and situations that have not looked connected to it. You, in a way that makes it obvious who planned it. Tell me whether you feel that this term is relevant to your life right now. I am giving you a big surprise. When the faith has been strong and it has been a long wait. What you are going to get will be proportionate to what you have gone through. It will be commensurate with the extent of the sacrifice. It will bear the weight of your prayers throughout every difficult time. I do not provide a weak response to long-term expensive faith. The future has been designed to meet you where you are right now, not where you were when you started praying, but where I have guided you through all of the subsequent events. It can show up as a message that revives an endeavor you had given up on. It can occur while a talk you were unaware was being planned. It could seem like an open door in a location that seemed to be closed off to you forever. It might be a sudden sense of calm that permeates your chest to such an extent that you become aware that something has changed. Something has eventually touched down after a protracted flight. You will be able to identify it in whatever shape it takes. Your heart will rest when it arrives, not because it will make a big announcement,